Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Living to Learn. If you may notice already that this is a little bit of a different setup than we're normally used to. So again, it's all about making adjustments, right? You gotta go with the flow. Sometimes you don't have the exact setup, the exact whatever you're looking for, and you got to make it happen, right? And so I would rather stay consistent than worry about some of the details, right? About how I'd rather record or rather have my setup, and thankfully I'm able to do it, right? So here I am, standing up. Yes, it's a little different than what we're normally used to, but hopefully this is still something that you can benefit from, that you take away from. And again, just want to start out this video by saying thank you to all of those of you who have been supporting my channel by watching it, by sharing, by liking, commenting. Especially those of you who have subscribed. That means a lot to me. And for those of you that have donated financially, again, I'm blown away by your generosity and your kindness. So thank you for that. It helps. It's encouraging, and it makes things like this, these videos possible. And so I want to talk about something that's been on my mind probably for the last, it's always on my mind. Every year it's on my mind. But really more specifically in regard to, where I'm at now and what I'm trying to give back, right? Especially to this channel, trying to help others, trying to, create content that's going to be helpful, that's going to help, people get better, help them grow. And really just been honed in on this whole, holiday season and what it means for a lot of us. Okay. Holidays, we usually think of, they're usually synonymous with, celebration, with, good memories and family, warmth, joy, peace. In the U.S. we have this tradition of Christmas, right? The Christmas season, the Christmas spirit. Not everybody celebrates Christmas, but we have a holiday season that we're in. And the reality is that for some of us, this is not a good time of year. And for some of us, rather than, being rather than being in a place where we can celebrate, where we can, reflect and be grateful, it comes with a lot of bad memories. It comes with a lot of sorrow. It comes with a lot of regret, pain. Not everybody, we didn't all grow up the same, right? So for me, let me just give you a little bit of background about how I grew up. So I grew up, again, I've mentioned this several times on this channel, and I'll mention it several times again. It's not to, throw things in people's faces. It's not to rub it in your face, but I have to give credit, and I have to give praise to those who came before me because of how I was raised and how I grew up. I got to experience a very good life that not a lot of people get to experience. I got to have a supportive family. I got to have a close-knit family. I got to experience a life where I was loved, where I was encouraged, where I was built up. I wasn't torn down. And so that's why I mention it so much, because I feel like a very fortunate person. I'm a very blessed individual. And so that's part of why I want to give back. But not everybody grew up like that. When I was growing up, it was, I remember, it was every year. We knew we were getting together with family. We knew exactly where we were going to go, exactly who we were going to be with. And I think one of the biggest, because we had lost, when I was younger, I lost, my great-grandfather and both of my great-grandfathers. I lost an aunt, a great aunt that I was close to. But for the most part, the holidays just were still, a happy time. And as a kid, I was still, everything felt good. And then one year, everything changed. I had an interruption in my life that I wasn't ready for. It was when my brother passed away. And I don't remember specifically that first Christmas after he passed. I was 14 years old. I don't really even remember that year, because it was like I was going into my freshman year in high school, so it was already a weird time. And then here I lose my brother, in a matter of days, and it was crazy. And you know, Christmas, Thanksgiving, those holidays were they were never the same. It was, someone's missing, you know, and even now I'm 41 years old, and there's still a missing seat at the table when it comes to my bro, you know. And since then I've lost both of my grandfathers who I was very close to, you know, and so, you know, there's things come with the holidays, right? But for some of us, some of you have experienced levels of pain that I've never experienced. For some of you that are watching, the holidays are everything except a time to celebrate and a time to reflect on good memories. See, because even though I've had these tragedies and I've lost people in my life, and I've had to face those first Christmases, those first Thanksgiving without this person, you know, I still have a support system. I still had, you know, people that were there for me. Some of you, you've had to go through this all on your own. Some of you have had to deal with these issues and these emotions and this sadness and this depression by yourselves. You know, and it could come from a number of things. You know, you might be in a place where you don't trust people. You know, it's kind of hard to get help from people when you don't trust them. And I'll tell you, that's another positive, you know, byproduct of this whole YouTube thing, is that we never really have to get to know each other. You know, you don't have to, you really don't need any skin in the game. I may never meet some people that are watching this, but yet they can still benefit. If I say something that's helpful, something that makes sense, they can still take from it. And please do, by all means. You know, honestly, it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, I'm looking forward to the day when my channel's monetized by YouTube. That's going to be amazing. That's going to be great. You know, multiple streams of revenue makes sense, right? And I'm headed in that direction. So thank you. But honestly, that's not the main goal. You know, the main goal is to help somebody realize something about themselves, change something about themselves, and then going forward, they make the people's lives, those who come after them, they're going to make their lives better because they came to a different realization. Because that's exactly what's happened to me. I know what it's like to benefit from people who made changes. And those changes are the only reason why I have what I have, and why I've been where I've been, and why I've experienced what I've experienced. And that can be all of us. But some of us just haven't gotten there yet. And going back to what we're talking about, some of us, we have a lot of deep sorrows, deep pains, regrets, things that we're dealing with. And when the holidays come around, all that stuff just kind of lands on our shoulders. It just, you start to, all these emotions and all these things just kind of start to linger, right? They kind of start to make their way to the surface. Maybe all year we were able to push it down, but beneath the surface, right? Out of our way, out of our sight. Don't want to think about it, don't want to know about it. But once October comes around and the Thanksgiving decorations start going up, and then the Christmas holiday decorations start going up, we start to feel a certain way. We start to see the world a certain way. And you know, let me just say this: let's acknowledge those things. Let's acknowledge those feelings. It sucks. It sucks. It sucks going to, you know, Christmas dinner with my family and knowing I'm not going to see my grandfathers. Like, they'll never be there. It sucks. You know, it sucks that my kids will never get to meet my brother. Like, it sucks. It's okay to acknowledge that. It's okay to acknowledge it. 2022, let me tell you what 2022 did for me. 2022 was a year of hard lessons for me. But what it forced me to do, it forced me to go deep down beneath the surface where I hide those things, where I push those things to the side, those emotions. It made me go down there, and it made me sit in that space, man. Now, that might sound harsh, and it kind of is. You know, life's not fair, and it isn't easy. And for some people out there, it's even harder than I can ever imagine. So, you know, my respects to those people that are dealing with things I could never even imagine dealing with. But 2022 made me have to go to that place, right? Where I had to look, and I had to be honest with my feelings. I had to be honest with my feelings that, yeah, you know what, I feel like a failure. I feel like I suck. I feel like I'm not going to do that. Like I'm actually not, I may not amount to what I want to amount to. I had to deal with that. I had to face that this year. I had to face looking in the mirror and say, man, you suck as you're a father. You've dropped the ball. You got kids, man. You dropped the ball, dude. you suck. That's how I'm feeling, right? That's how I was feeling. You're married, you're a married man, you are failing. What are you doing? And that's what 2022 made me sit in that space. But here's what I learned. Here's what I learned from that. I learned that I don't have to stay there. Right? I learned I could acknowledge those emotions. I could acknowledge what I'm feeling, what I'm going through. And I could say it out loud. And I could say, hey, this is how I feel. And then I don't have to stay here. I began to look at that as, well, you know what? If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. But that does not have to be the outcome. I knew that. I understood that. Right? And I fought to understand that. Okay? So whatever you're going through, that hopelessness, that misery, that depression, that sadness that just overwhelms you, especially around this time, you can acknowledge it. Please acknowledge it. I'm not saying hide your feelings, but you don't have to stay there. And in fact, you can fight. You can fight to get to a place where you can tell yourself, this is not how my story has to end. This does not have to be truth. Right? I'm not going to speak that failure into existence. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, yes, I have dropped the ball. Yes, I've made a mistake. I found myself in a place I didn't want to be. Right? In 2022, I found myself in a place I never wanted to be in again. And yet there I was. Career-wise, just in my life, just mentally, emotionally, I was there. And I had to acknowledge the fact that I was there. But I didn't have to stay there. And I had to start working and putting in effort towards climbing out of that hole. It's not bad to be in that space, although it hurts. And I know it sucks. For some of you, you have things in your mind, you have memories, you have bad experiences that I could never imagine. So I want to be sensitive to that. I'm not here to trample your feelings. I'm here to say like, hey, come on, like get with the program. That's not what this is about. I'm just sharing with you. I'm sharing with you what I've had to do so that this didn't rule my life, so that these emotions and this darkness doesn't just rule my life. I had to remind myself that I've succeeded at other things, that I have been successful, that I have accomplished, And that's what this video is about, just to remind you that, hey, you know what? It's okay to acknowledge that the pain, it's very real. It's very real, and the unfairness is real. Why should I have to deal with this if I didn't do it to myself, right? I didn't ask to lose my brother at 14. I didn't ask for that. That happened to me. 3 days. I remember like yesterday. I remember the last day I saw him walking out of my house. I've never forgotten that. I didn't do that to myself. Why do I have to deal with that? Because it's the only way that I can put it in its rightful place. I have to take responsibility. I have to take ownership of these things that are deep down and buried below the surface that I can't even hardly recognize. I've got to go to that place. And that's what happened in 2022. 2022, in hindsight, was a blessing in disguise because I had to learn how to face those things. It made me. Of course, when you're going through it, yeah, I'm not like, oh, this is great. No, this sucks. This hurts. This isn't even fair. I've done this, this, and this. How come this isn't happening, right? You have that whole conversation, right? And I'm saying have the conversation. Hey, I didn't do this to myself. Hey, that's not my fault. Those are my memories. I didn't ask for that family. I didn't ask for this to happen to me, whatever it might be. I didn't ask to lose this person. And now I have to sit here during the holidays and face the fact that they're not here and they're never going to be here again. Have the conversation. Have those conversations, but understand that from there, you can only go up. Use that. Somehow manipulate that to become a ladder for you to climb out of that space. Doesn't mean you're faking it. Doesn't mean you're pretending. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. It just means that those things are no longer going to rule over you. So you're no longer going to have to dread the holiday season. You shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to. You know, watch my videos. There's tons of videos on YouTube. You can gain some clarity, some understanding, some encouragement. Maybe traditional therapy doesn't work for you. Maybe you've tried it and haven't had a good experience. Yeah, I would encourage you to try it again, but if you don't want to, look for other ways. Look for community. Start with YouTube. If you have a hard time trusting people, start here. You don't even have to trust me. You can just take my words and apply them. You never even have to meet me. You know, obviously if you want to hire me as your life coach, that's a relationship, that's different, but I'm saying you can take the small steps. And like I said before in my other videos, it's not about the speed. It's about that forward movement. So if you're crawling, if you're taking small increments, that's improvement. That's progress. But for those of you, man, and again, like, I mean, you know, my brother-in-law, he just lost his cousin. You know, my brother's friend is in a coma on life support. You know, all this is happening right now. Christmas is next week. If people have to go through it, man. I'm just saying, like, I'm not trying to be insensitive. I'm not saying this is real. This is real. But again, I believe that we can get out of this. It doesn't have to control us. It can be an opportunity to face some things that we may not have wanted to face. Because we feel deep down inside, I shouldn't have to take ownership of something that I didn't do. And you know what? I'm right there with you. And I empathize with you. But the unfair fact and reality is that if we don't take ownership of it, if we don't sit in that space and face these things, it's impossible for us to release those things off of our shoulders. There's no other way. And so I encourage you to fight. I encourage you to search and look for a way to get out of that so that it doesn't have to control you. It doesn't have to be the main theme of your life every time the season comes around. You know, because here's the other thing. That pain and neglecting to deal with that pain, it's taking up valuable real estate in your mind and in your heart. Where instead you could be filling those spaces with your hopes and dreams. You could be filling those spaces with positive things. You could be filling that space with things that are going to be beneficial. Okay? So it's not about ignoring. It's just about reframing it. I think I did a video not that long ago about reframing, but I should probably do another one because it's such a great tool if we can understand how to do it. How to reframe all these things that have happened to us or that were done to us and use those things for our benefit. Again, and I say that with, you know, I want to be sensitive. Again, I know some of you have been through some things that are awful, that are tragic. And I'm just here to encourage. You know, I'm just here to perhaps, you know, paint the picture differently, give you another perspective. And I don't understand all things, but, you know, all I can do is try. So, you know, be encouraged. Like I said, find a community, find therapy. If it's on YouTube, if it's in a psychologist, however it needs to be, do your research. Look for something that's going to make sense to you. You know, there's houses of worship. If that's what you need, by all means. Community can be found in these places, right? But anyway, I know this is a tough season for a lot of us, and I just want to say happy holidays. Enjoy it as much as you can. And I hope this was helpful.